Today, Three Arrows Capital plunges into liquidation. Fundstrat says another washout could come in crypto markets before a bottom. And Matt Hougan of Bitwise says DeFi protocols look like an incredible opportunity for long-term investors. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Kate Rooney. Digital assets in the red today, but bouncing off the lows of the morning. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin traded around $20,000, Ethereum around $1,100. One outlier is Celsius's Cell token, which traded higher today despite continued uncertainty around the future of that business. We spoke to half a dozen Celsius customers who are frozen out of their accounts. Some invested all of their savings in what they thought would be retirement money. They first heard accounts would be frozen through a blog post back on June 12th. Celsius blamed extreme market conditions and later said the process will take some time. No comment from the company since. CEO Alex Mashinsky was a key reason investors we spoke to say that they trusted the company. He gave weekly YouTube talks describing Celsius as really the anti-bank. You'd often see him in a t-shirt that says, "Banks are not your friends."
It seemed to me like out of all the companies that were paying yield, this one seemed, the safest one, especially the most transparent one, given that the CEO himself and a lot of high-level employees were on YouTube talking to the community, saying that your funds will be safe, you're not going to lose your crypto.
Everyday investors flocked to Celsius for 18% yield in return for depositing their crypto. The fine print, though, says Celsius is not a bank. Customer deposits are not insured, and that money was lent out to hedge funds and put into some other high-yield crypto projects. The structure began to unravel as prices collapsed. Legal experts tell me the likely outcome is bankruptcy. As unsecured creditors, investors will be collecting pennies on the dollar.
Maybe if Bitcoin shoots back up to 60 or something, maybe there's a happy story there. But if we stay with prices around 20, I can't imagine that there's any way that Celsius can repay everyone in full.
5 state regulators we spoke to are investigating Celsius. The only federal regulator mentioned in their fine print is Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. That's the anti-money laundering group, which declined to comment. No mention of the SEC. We also reached out to Celsius's CEO, its law firm, the company itself. No response yet. Okay, on to our other top stories. Three Arrows Capital just plunged into liquidation. The British Virgin Islands ordered the crypto hedge fund to sell off its assets with the help of restructuring firm Teneo. First in line to get paid are the company's creditors, including Voyager Digital, which lent some $650 million worth of crypto to that company. And the hedge fund is the latest casualty in a liquidity crunch hitting crypto markets. As prices have fallen dramatically, the companies with the most debt simply can't pay it back. Now, CNBC reached out to Three Arrows for comment, but the company did not respond. Next, Brazil's largest digital bank, Nubank, just rolled out Bitcoin buying for all of its 54 million customers. Users will find a new tab within the bank's app that lets them instantly buy cryptocurrency, but it lacks the option to withdraw to an external wallet. Now, the bank is backed by Warren Buffett, who has been extremely critical of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Finally, Fundstrat says you should expect another sell-off before digital asset prices stabilize. In a new report, strategist Mark Newton said there's an, quote, above-average chance of a washout in crypto markets before prices stabilize in mid-July. He also said that if Bitcoin prices fell to $17,500, there wouldn't be much to stop them from falling to $12,500. Still, Newton believes any sell-offs that test the lows set in June would be an opportunity for investors to buy digital assets at a discount. For our main story of the day, Crypto World's Mackenzie Sigalos caught up with Matt Hougan of Bitwise and asked him about his outlook for crypto as we head into the second half of 2022.
So we've seen some price stability in recent days, with Bitcoin in particular. That said, it is still stuck at this $20,000 price level. What's the catalyst that gets us out?
Yeah, I think part of it is the passage of time. There is still an aspect in crypto that we're waiting to see if another shoe will drop, right? If another entity will fail, if the credit cascade will continue. I think we have to get through the 4th of July weekend, get through that quiet period on the market before we build in the second half of the year. So that's part of it. The other piece, there's some catalysts out there that could help or hurt the market, right? We have a decision upcoming on a spot Bitcoin ETF. We had continued progress on Ethereum in its march towards the merge. But really, I think it's just waiting to get through this 4th of July weekend. I think we build in the second half of the year, and the sooner we get there, the better.
And we have seen some success in the DeFi space in the midst of this downturn. You mentioned some names that you're looking out for. Is there anything else we should be taking note of in terms of the decentralized finance ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, one amazing thing is that it's worked so well. This has been an extreme stress test, and the vast majority of blue chip entities in the DeFi ecosystem, the Uniswaps, the Aves, the compounds, have been working with no issues. It's really the centralized finance crypto entities that have been failing. I think what you'll see is a focus of investor attention on those blue chip chips. Remember, those are key building blocks of the decentralized financial future. And the ability to buy something like Uniswap 80 or 90% off its all-time highs is a really unique thing, given how much progress that entity has made over the past years. It's an incredible opportunity for long-term oriented buyers.
So in terms of the types of cryptocurrencies that are best poised to handle this winter that we're in right now, is it your layer 2 chains built on top of something like an Ethereum where there's that symbiotic relationship there? Or is it about back to basics, a layer 1, an isolated cryptocurrency that can stand on its own?
Yeah, we talk to financial advisors and investment professionals, institutions all the time. I was on the road for most of the last 2 months talking to those investors. I will say that Ethereum, above all other assets, stands out to them. It has elements of being a blue chip, but it's the foundation on which NFTs, DeFi, and stablecoins are being built. And so instead of trying to pick and choose a winner in that ecosystem, a lot of those institutional and professional investors want to make sure they have exposure to Ethereum coming out of this bear market. Beyond that, you can look at the areas where we think there'll be major growth. Layer 2 solutions are a good answer there. And again, blue chip DeFi protocols are probably the other piece. You could take those 3 ideas and build sort of a next generation blue chip portfolio. Maybe it's Ethereum, Matic, Uniswap, Aave, and that would be a pretty interesting portfolio to own as we start to recover from this bear market and move into the next crypto bull cycle.
So we've practically reached the end of the first half of 2022. For some people, it took a completely unexpected turn in terms of price movements. What are your thoughts? What's your outlook for the next 6 months? Or alternatively, how are you bracing for total unpredictability in terms of where we head?
Yeah, as mentioned, I think the next week or so could be very interesting. A lot of cross currents. I'm bracing for short-term volatility. I do think as we get to the second half of the year, I'm very bullish. I think the merge on Ethereum, continued progress on regulation, getting through this rough patch will lead toward a bull market in crypto in general. Will we get back to the old all-time highs this year? I'm skeptical of that. But even if Bitcoin can go from $20,000 to $30,000, that's a 50% gain. And you could see that amplified in other altcoins. You sort of have to scrap the prices of the past, at least in the short term, realize where we are. But I do think, the underlying fundamentals are strong. The core ecosystem is working. Once we clear through this credit and liquidity cascade, it's probably driven overselling in the market. I think there could be a pretty sharp, strong rebound in the second half of the year, but don't expect it to be smooth. It's a volatile market. It will be volatile in the future.
In terms of that solvency crunch that we're seeing at some major projects right now, what are you keeping your eye on? Is there something that people haven't spoken about yet that you think is a pressure point in the crypto ecosystem?
Yeah, my personal view is it only matters if the entities that are running into issues are getting bigger and bigger, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a number of smaller entities that will likely face challenges. They probably have worse risk controls. We're taking more exogenous risk, and we'll continue to see those fail. What matters from an ecosystem perspective is we see the contagion move up and claim an entity like a BlockFi or another major sort of blue chip name. My guess is those are well-run entities that will make it through this, but that's what investors should be keeping their eye on, not the 19th small project that no one had heard of before and is suddenly making headlines. I don't think that really matters. The question is there another giant entity that succumbs to this credit crisis? And we'll find that out, I would guess, probably over this weekend.
So the Three Arrows Capital loan default this week didn't really shake you up at all?
Well, that was a major one, but we knew about that about a week ago, right? I mean, that was another large entity. If you think about Celsius to Three Arrows, arguably that's a bigger step up if you consider all the leverage they have in the ecosystem. Something like CoinFlex pausing withdrawals, I'm not sure shakes the ecosystem in the same way, right? It's more, do we go bigger from there that you have to worry about?
Okay, that's all for today, but you can find that full interview over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll see you then.